This latest version of coronavirus that is hammering human populations globally right now likely emerged in a wet market, a market in China where wildlife species are sold, often sold in a live form to individuals who like to consume wildlife. There's often live slaughter going on in these markets, and conditions depends on the market, but sometimes they're going to unsanitary, resulting in a lot of bodily fluids, blood, etc., spilling onto different species and exchange of these fluids. And these conditions are ripe for the emergence of novel zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases being those diseases that come out of animals. Because this impact has been so dramatic and so serious, I think it's bringing attention to the dangers in these wildlife markets, the trade, particularly the global trade in wildlife species. In wildlife conservation field, which is what I'm in, we talk about the devastating impacts of wildlife trade for the species, for the communities they live in, the ecosystems they live in, and also for the local governments and the local communities that rely on those species. And so elephants is a great example of this. They're a critical species for the ecosystems they inhabit. They've been extirpated, they've been removed through illegal poaching for decades. And so they've been taken out of many ecosystems. That has real impacts on the ecosystem function there. It also generates insecurity for local people living there. It attracts militias and illegal activities around the poaching of these animals. It's a cost for the government. The governments have to expend more on protection. And that insecurity also has impacts on one of the major revenue generators that you can get from wildlife and from elephants, and that it becomes a detractant to tourism. If there's any silver lining to this event, it's that it's going to bring attention to the real risks of wildlife trade and potentially help us to address this problem and end and finally put the final nails in the coffin of wildlife trade.